We're back again, and this time we are going to talk about picking your instruments or picking the right instruments for a section. Because this is a question I've been getting quite a bit actually. It's a lot of people have been asking me, like, how do I know which instrument to pick for this melody or for this harmony or for like the entire section? How do you know what to pick? What is the right instrument? What is the right approach? This is what we're going to have a look at in this video. We're going to look at my personal approaches to picking out the right instruments, quote unquote, and how you can take these techniques and apply them on your own. But first of all, I need to just put in a little note here. There is no right way of doing any of these things. There are no right instrument for like this or that situation. There are no like rules or limits that should dictate your choices. It all comes down to your artistic vision. Your artistic vision dictates what the right choice of instrument is. There's no rules or no theory or no one else that can tell you that you can or cannot use an oboe. It's totally up to you. So if you find yourself in the first place composing music and you're trying to like find some kind of rule or system for which instruments to pick, I need you to stop right there and really start thinking through what you're doing, because this is maybe one of the biggest parts of the creative like endeavor that making music is. It's your subjective artistic freedom, your freedom of expression in any way that you want. No one can tell you that it's wrong to use a flute here or you can't use a cello for this. If it sounds good to you, that's all the proof you need. You don't need anything to back it up. As long as something sounds good, you have made a good decision. That said, you should try to have some kind of basic knowledge about the different instruments you're writing for, as this is the only way that you can fully make reasonable decisions based on your artistic vision and create a well crafted orchestration for the given instrument or group of instruments. So try to have some kind of basic understanding of the instruments, which ranges they sound best in, which ranges they don't sound good in, how the tone color is changing based on the range, how the loudness is changed based on the range. And because if you have a melody and you feel, say, flute would be a great fit, you have to make sure that you put the melody in a range where the flute's brilliance can be, portrayed in a good way, rather than a tricky and bad sounding range that's hard to play for the flutist and doesn't really bring out the best in the instrument or the player. Now, with all that said, let's look at my approach for like picking the instrument for a certain melody. All right, so let's just take this little piano thing here, and we're just gonna create a little quick orchestration from this. Let's listen. All right, so we have this super simple little melody, or at least the beginning of a melody slash theme. We have, two chords here. Let's see if I can play them. Oops. So I have a chord there. We have a chord here, and we have a little melody. And then some little, I don't know if I can call this really counter melody, but yeah, let's call it that. Just like this descending motion kind of that's going on to create some more movement in the theme. So those are the three elements. It's nothing more. We have this melody, we have this descending little thing, and then two chords. That's it. So three elements. All right. So that's what we have to work with. Now, what I like to do when trying to figure out the kind of instrumentation, I mean, let's face it, usually it's kind of an autonomous process. Like I just know that I'd like this kind of instrument or this kind of feel, and I just like, do it. I just play around and something happens. It's not really a structured approach. But if I'm trying to break it down, my first concern would be, what do I want to be in focus? What do I want the melody to sound like? What kind of tone color do I want? And this also depends on the context. Like, is there something dictating what kind of instruments I should be picking? Say, if you're working on a movie score or a short film, there might be things in the story and things in the character or whatever your theme is for that might kind of limit or open up possibilities for which instruments you should be picking. Or maybe even the director has some kind of preference, like, hey, I want the main theme to be a bassoon or something like that. You know, you never know. But as long as that's not the case, you're the one who makes the call. So whatever instrument you feel would be the best fit for the melody, that's the best fit for the melody. There's like no rules besides trying to, you know, make a good melody for the characteristics and the ranges of a given instrument. So the best way to really just do this is to play around, in my opinion, just see what the different instruments sound like. So say here, I think I record the melody in oboe. Let's listen to that. And I personally love the sound of the oboe, so maybe that's something I would like to go for here. Or maybe I know I want something very, very mellow and atmospheric in the beginning. Maybe I just want some kind of even simpler thing than this. Um, let's say I just take some strings that are playing a high drone, and I just want some very light violins playing the harmony and melody. Then I would play around with that and see what that sounds like. Or maybe I want something more full. In which case, let's say I would maybe just lay down some of the chords here, right? And I think that's what I did over here, to be honest. I think I just copied over exactly basically what was going on in the piano with the descending counter melody and all. So say I decided to go for a string arrangement of this, which, let's say I just want to make sure I'm not playing anything else here. Sounds like that. Oh wait, we got some choir action going on. Let's take that away. All right, so we got it here. And say that's cool. Let me just duplicate that so we have another copy if needed. But, or actually, no. So let's say I don't want the this descending line to be in strings. I want that to be in something else. That's just something I feel at this point. Let's say that. All right, but I know that I want some kind of main solo melody instrument. And maybe it's a little bit too much to just go straight into, you know, full strings here with something like this. Maybe I want something more intimate. So again, let's take the oboe. Let's take the oboe like as an example. Since I recorded that, let's just copy it over here. That sounds pretty nice, but let's get in this descending little motion here and see what we can do. Now, we know it's going like this. Let's record that. All right, so we're one step further now. Let's see what this sounds like. All right, that's something. We're getting somewhere. But say that I feel the melody is lacking a little something. Maybe I would like to have it project through a little bit more, like we talked in the doubling video, and maybe I'll add some like a little violin melody to, you know, fill out the melody in the oboe. I'm just going to take it down a little bit so it's a little bit more intimate. Just a little detail, really. Like that. And say maybe I even want the flute to double the melody, just to add a little bit more of that color to it as well. We have this result. So we have a little woodwind melody there, and maybe I want the clarinets to be doubled by the violas or something like that, just to also double the counter melody, so we have some kind of balance going on. And also to like enrich the quality, because I like to combine violas and clarinets sometimes. I find them to blend pretty well together and create an interesting texture. So let's see what it all sounds like right now. All right, there we go. So now we have a little theme here actually with all the elements. And if we open this view so we can see everything that's going on, you can see it's just the same thing. It's just a melody that's being doubled. You have the chords with a descending motion, and that's it. That's everything that's going on here. So I basically just picked and assigned these three elements to different instruments that I personally feel would be a good fit. And then I've been doubling these things to create the size and intensity I'm going for, and the tone color, not at least, that I'm going for in the example, to spread the different elements across the orchestra and create this result. So when you're trying to pick the instruments, try to think about which kind of emotional response you'd like to get across. Then use the instruments and not at least the articulations that you feel portray these emotions. To me, it's more about the articulation plus tone color of an instrument that I get in mind, rather than the instrument itself. For example, if I knew that I wanted something dark and kind of ominous, I'm not thinking, oh, this instrument or something like that, but usually I start thinking about the feeling of the sound, which I guess would be like a deep dark sound with some texture. This would lead me to ways to achieve this color, which I could achieve with, say, a low note with double basses, cellos, bass clarinet, contrabassoon, and bassoons, plus a tuba or something, you know. I do the double basses and cellos for some low round warmth as a bass, adding the sort of nasal, intense texture of the low woodwinds, like the bassoon and contrabassoon, because these have their own tone colors, mixed with a full yet minimal brassy tuba, instead of horns and trombones, which are a bit more too sharp and overpowering for my vision here, for example. So when picking instruments, I don't just think of the instrument as it is, but like the tone color and emotion and articulation I can get out of it, and how this will change the emotion of my piece. And then, I'm trying to find something like an instrument or a combination of instruments that together would kind of create this color or create this texture. So that's the way I usually go about it. So now let's listen to this thing again and just see what we came up with super quick here. All right, so we started with this little thing, melody. Let's see here. I started with this little thing, the melody, little counter motion here, and some chords, 3 layers. And I created this kind of, warm, mellow string and woodwind theme with this. But I could have made it like super dark and, with a lot of brass and choirs. I could have done practically everything or anything, and it would sound totally different. But this was my choice. This is like how I decided to color this theme through the use of different orchestral instruments. So I hope this has been, showing you a little bit about how you can approach picking the right instruments, and really that it's nothing to worry about. Just go with whatever you feel will sound the best and whatever you like the best. And this is the beauty of samples, because you can actually try out different combinations and different options and just settle on the one you prefer the most.